This is a clear sign the end times are near. Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Well, we have a new technological development to report, and I believe it's a clear sign the end times and the 7-year tribulation are near. But before we get into that, I want to turn your attention over to the Substack at brittgillette.substack.com. Yesterday, we posted the replay of the July monthly live Q&A. So if you missed that, if you're a premium subscriber and you want to check that out, head over there. We talked about a number of topics on that, including the Revelation 9 army of 200 million. What is it? What are the God's holy people referred to in Revelation chapter 13? Can you lose your salvation? Is the closure of the Strait of Hormuz still a possibility? What's going to happen with the Abraham Accords? Are we currently witnessing the Ezekiel 38:11 peace? What nations are leading in drone technology? A whole host of other topics. So if you're a premium subscriber and you missed that, go ahead and check out that replay over on the Substack. Now, if you want to be a premium subscriber over at the Substack, but you cannot afford it, no problem. Just simply message me directly on Substack. Let me know that you want a complimentary premium subscription, and we will provide that free of charge, no questions asked. We don't want anyone to miss out on the content over at the Substack due to financial considerations. So now that we've discussed that, what is happening? What new technological breakthrough has happened, has rolled out that I believe make the end times near? Let's take a look at this article right here. This is from Zero Hedge. It says, meet the dystopian startups making biological computers from human cells. And we've talked about this in the past, but now we have a new breakthrough that is really a game changer in this field, and we'll discuss why. But I'm going to read a few paragraphs of this so that you can get a background of what we're talking about here. It says, picture a dystopian future where computers don't just mimic human thinking, they're powered by actual human brain cells. And guys, this ties in perfectly with the article on the Substack on Tuesday about biomimetic drones. These are drones that copy God's design. They mimic what we see in nature. So we see in nature birds, we see bees, we see locusts, we see ants, we see mosquitoes. They're building drones copying all of those designs, and they want to put them into swarms. So now they're copying human brain cells in order to increase computational power of computers, and especially, as we'll talk about here, using less energy. So let's get back to this article. It says that future is taking shape in a Cambridge, England lab where a groundbreaking device called CL1 is blending biology and technology in ways that could transform how we compute. Developed by Australian startup Cortical Labs and UK-based BitBio, this shoebox-sized machine houses 200,000 lab-grown brain cells wired to silicon circuits, creating a biological computer that's already turning heads. Unlike traditional computers which guzzle energy, CL1 operates with the efficiency of a human brain. Quote, our brains process information using a fraction of the power that modern electronics need, Hon-Wang Chong, CEO of Cortical Labs, told Financial Times. This could open doors to smarter robots, stronger cybersecurity, and immersive virtual worlds. And Zero Hedge comments, oh joy, right? So guys, this is here, biological computing using actual human brain cells. These are brain cells that are derived from stem cells taken from human skin. And they're used to develop these cells to power these computers more efficiently, again, using a lot less electricity. And guys, that's why we're going to see this blow up. We're going to see this widely adopted in a big way. We can guarantee it because we know about things like this. So this is from Scientific American. I'm sure you've run across a number of headlines just like this. Data centers will use twice as much energy by 2030, driven by AI. So there is a data center boom taking place. I'm sure you all know about this. We hear about this. We hear about the mountains of energy it takes to run these data centers. They say, well, it's going to take the amount of power that's used and consumed by the city of Denver every day to power some of these data centers. And they want to build these things left and right. Where's all this energy generation going to come from? I don't know that we're certainly at the amount of time that it takes to build nuclear power plants in the United States with all the red tape. That's not going to be how it happens unless they cut all that away and deregulate. Is there enough oil that can be generated? Natural gas? Is that really what we want to be expending those fossil fuels to do? So the question is, how are we going to deal with this massive power generation problem that AI presents? And I submit that the answer is through biological computing, and that's why this will take off. So here we have this article from New Atlas on what we just read about. World's first synthetic biological intelligence runs on living human cells, and this is the CL1 developed by Cortical Labs. But if we dig down into the story, it gives us some insight into what type of power requirements we're talking about to run these. So here it says an entire rack of CL1 units uses only around 850 to 1,000 watts of energy, is fully programmable and offers biodirectional stimulation and read interface tailored to enable neural connection and network learning. So, but the point is 850 to 1,000 watts of energy for an entire rack. So what does that mean? Well, I looked that up. So a typical data center rack uses between 7 to 10 kilowatts of power. So to put that in perspective, they're saying here 1,000 watts is the upper range for one of these racks. That's 1 kilowatt. And your typical rack takes 7 to 10 kilowatts. Now, that's for a typical data center rack. Those data center racks that are designed to work with AI and handle an AI workload use 30 to 100 kilowatts of power. So in other words, those racks use 30 to 100 times the energy one of these racks will use. And so you would expect that these computers will be rolled out en masse in the months and years ahead in order to deal with this energy problem, because I'm doing back of the envelope math. That's 85 to 97% less energy usage as a result of using biological computers that have actual human brain neural networks in them versus the traditional Silicon Valley hardware, right? So this is what we're looking at. This is what we're dealing with. But let's go down, dig to the end of the article where we can read more, because I think there's more to take from this. And again, I'll pin a link to this article because, as you can see, it's quite long here. But it says the CL1 is the first commercialized biological computer uniquely designed to optimize communication and information processing with in vitro neural cultures. In other words, brain cells. The team noted the CL1 with built-in life support to maintain the health of the cells holds significant possibilities in the fields of medical science and technology. And guys, I believe this is the key breakthrough we're looking at here, because in the past, we've talked about some of these biological computers using these neurons, human brain cells, but they have a short shelf life, maybe hours, up to 30 days. Well, you don't want to invest in something that's going to last 30 days, but here they have built-in life support to maintain the health of these cells. I couldn't find exactly the length of these, but they're rolling this out commercially, and they're rolling this out in terms of cloud computing ability. So this is going to be very viable from a cost-effective standpoint for companies to actually use this for processing power. So it says it's inherently more natural than AI as it utilizes the same biological material, neurons, that underpin intelligence in living organisms, Cortical added. By leveraging neurons as a computational substrate, this has the power to create systems that exhibit more organic and natural forms of intelligence compared to traditional silicon-based AI. So they believe this will transform the AI sector. Guys, this is coming. They're going to push this. I believe this does not mean that these computers will become sentient. Again, I believe that's something that comes from God, not from human beings placing together molecules. But what we're seeing, they're going to be merging biological computing, biological entities, and with hardware, traditional hardware, which opens up a whole bunch of possibilities we'll talk about in just a moment. But one other reason we're going to see this adopted is this right here. So this is from mindmatters.ai. It says defense EMP, that's electromagnetic pulse, cannons could down drone swarms like bug spray, right? So I get a lot of these types of articles. God willing, I'm going to put together an article on Tuesday on defensive measures to counter drone swarms, because there are a lot of these out there, and people say these drone swarms aren't as effective as you think they're going to be because of these things they're rolling out. But we're going to talk about the problems with those defenses they plan to roll out. Of course, there are a number of problems, such as onboard AI in drones is going to learn the range of these cannons, how these cannons operate, and simply work around that and disable the cannons. But in addition to that, as biological computing and circuitry is onboarded onto these drones, EMPs will not be effective. Because you can fire an EMP at me or you, and we're not just going to fall apart and shut down, because it does not have the same impact, and it won't have the same impact on this biological computing. So that's another reason this is going to be adopted, is because of military applications. But let's go back to this Zero Hedge article, the original one we pulled up, and go down and look at, finish this up. It says, these systems are sentient because they respond to stimuli and learn from them, but they are not conscious. We will learn more about how the human brain works, but we do not intend to create a brain in a vat. Notice this word intend. This usually pops up in news stories. We've talked, depending on how long you've been watching this channel, we've covered this before. For instance, CNN did an article on we are creating mosquitoes in a lab, genetically modified mosquitoes that when they bite humans, they will inject certain medicines into them, right? Trying to put it in the best way that I don't get banned on certain channels. But don't worry, this is in a lab setting. It's completely secure. These mosquitoes won't get out. We do not intend to release these at any point in the future. And less than a year later, CNN is covering the same story, but in this story they say, oh yeah, we released a whole bunch of genetically modified mosquitoes into the wild, right? and they say, well, I thought that you said this wasn't going to happen. No, I said we didn't intend to release these. And so again, here, we don't intend to create a brain in the vat, even though that's what we're doing, right? That's what they're doing. Now, again, this doesn't mean this is a conscious person with a soul, but we're certainly pushing up against those boundaries. I think tinkering with things God does not intend us to tinker with. And again, we see this. Satan loves to counterfeit God's works, and we're seeing this with these biomimetic drones, and now we're seeing this with basically brains in a petri dish. But it says the CL1 units are slated to retail for around $35,000 each and are expected to be broadly available by late 2025. And of course, the cost of these is going to go down over time, but they're offering this power to companies through either you can buy this standalone unit or you can use their cloud-based service. And a lot of companies will turn to that because there's an enormous energy savings to be had, especially as the cost of these units declines. Again, cost efficiency, if anything, much less energy efficiency, is going to drive the marketplace toward the use of these biological computers over traditional Silicon Valley type computers. So, guys, this is where the world is headed. This is very real. I believe we're going to see this widely adopted in the months and years ahead. And I believe that this has profound implications for Bible prophecy, that it tells us how near we are to the end times and the 7-year tribulation. Now, why do I say that? Because I'm sure as you've been listening to this, it's sort of put 2 and 2 together and thought, well, they're blending biological cells with traditional technologies. And when they do that, really you're creating, in a sense, a transhumanist bridge to where we see, this merger between human beings and technology. And we know again that Neuralink, which is the brain-computer interface company that Elon Musk founded, we went over recently, in a biography, he revealed that he came up with the idea for that company when he was upset that it took so long to text a thought to someone. He was like, why can't I just think this thought and send it as a text? And so that's why Elon Musk has said in the past, I'm going to get one of these brain chips in the future, even though the stated reason is, well, we want to help those who are paralyzed. We want to help those who are blind. Those are the initial commercial use cases for that. But ultimately, there are means of getting to the place where Elon Musk and others in Silicon Valley want to be, where they can connect themselves to computer networks, connect themselves to AI, and ascend to become what they would say are superhumans or post-humans, as Ray Kurzweil might call them. And so this is part of the transhumanist agenda. And guys, I believe that Jesus may very well have referred directly to this. So this is from Matthew 24, verse 22. Jesus is being asked by the disciples to describe what are the signs of your coming and the establishment of your kingdom. And he goes on to list a number of things. He says, when you begin to see these things take place, know that I'm near, I'm right at the door. And as part of that conversation, he says, in fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. And the Greek word, if you dig into the original language that's used here, isn't people per se. It's the Greek word sarx, which actually means flesh. No flesh will survive. And so if we're entering a world of rebellious humanity that is pursuing transhumanism and pursuing overthrowing God's dominion, which if you read Psalm 2, verses 1 through 4, you can read that right there in there. Let's throw off these shackles that God has us under. Right? So this rebellion, man's rebellion against God has long been spiritual. It's going to move into the physical realm, I believe, in the end times. I believe that's what the Battle of Armageddon is. It tells us in the book of Revelation that the armies of the world gather at Armageddon to do battle against Jesus Christ. Most people, I think, have this idea that these armies are going about their business fighting each other or fighting against Jerusalem, and then it just so happens Jesus comes back and then they turn on him. No, it says they explicitly gather to do battle against him. Guys, this is where all of this is headed. This biological computing, this rollout that they have. Guys, this is pointing to, I believe, the nearness of the 7-year tribulation period, how close we are to the end times. That should fill you with a sense of joy in knowing that Jesus Christ will come back soon. But it should also fill you with a sense of urgency that we need to be sharing the hope we have in Jesus Christ with a lost and dying world. We need to be telling everyone we can. We need to be on the lookout for opportunities to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with as many people as possible. So make sure that is what you are doing, as the time is short, the days are short. None of us know how much longer we have to live. Each breath can be our last. But when we see these times, all of these prophecies beginning, this table being set for their fulfillment right in front of us, we know how near we are to the end. So we should be going out and telling others about the good news of Jesus Christ. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. God willing, I will see you on Monday.